when I do give clinics, I don't really have a set pattern how I do it. I usually think of it as like an exchange program between the people that come, which mostly are drummers, and myself. And like we talk over concepts, drumming concepts. Because, okay, me being a professional drummer, and I know most of you are also, and that means you make money for playing. And I'm out there, and I've made a lot of records and done a lot of things. People ask me my opinions about things. And I think that, like, in an exchange basis, someone who's been practicing, like, for 3 or 4 years, whatever, that has a different approach to practicing or playing a drum set, I may talk to him and get a totally different concept about how I should approach the drum set. I don't think that there's any gospel about you should do it this way or do it that way as opposed to any other way. I think the best thing that I could say for any young musician, not just drummer, but any young musician, is that you should do what feels comfortable for you, no matter what it is. I mean, I have a very unorthodox approach to playing a drum set. As far as playing rudiments and things are concerned, I think that, like, you definitely do need to practice your rudiments and play rudiments, because I think rudiments are used as a tool, and they're just a way to get from point A to point B. It's a lot simpler to get from point A to point B using your rudiments, because these are the things that have been set up to get through this language of playing the drums. And for me, I'm not a rudimental player, and I do things that are pretty unorthodox. I do things, however I get the sound, that's the way I do it. If you play with your elbows, your hands, and kick the drums or whatever, if there's a particular sound that you want to get, however you get it is the bottom line. Like, I know a lot of people listen to a lot of records, and that they say, oh man, I hear this thing, and they ask someone, they say, well, what is that this guy's playing? Or they go to a concert and they see him play it, and they say, oh man, look at that. And they try to emulate what he's doing by, setting the drums up the same way that particular guy sets up his drum set and sits, like I've seen guys like with cymbals way up here, like their favorite drummer has a cymbal way up here, like they play like this or whatever. And, I think what works best is whatever works for that particular person. If, your favorite drummer has a cymbal way up here and he plays like that and you'd like to play like him, maybe the answer is not to put your cymbal up there and play like that, but it's just to do it however you feel comfortable and get the same results, the same sound. I think that is the real bottom line. It's like, okay, as I said, like listening to a particular tape or listening to a record, and you hear something that someone did that you like, and you say, well, I'd like to be able to do that. How did he do that? And you listen to it and you say, okay, wow, it sounds close to me. Then you go see this guy play, and he plays it totally different than the way you did it. And it's like, oh, maybe I'm doing it wrong. I don't think that's the answer. I think that if the closer you get to what you want to achieve, however you achieve it is the best answer, and that's the best way to do it. I play left-handed, right-footed. So my drum set is set up for a right-handed drummer. Like most of the drummers today are right-handed. And then you get some that are left-handed. Then you get some that are really in a minority that are confused. Billy Cobham plays the same way I do also, which is we play sitting at the drum set like a right-handed drummer would play. Normally, a right-handed drummer would take and cross over and play the hi-hat like this, But when I started to play the drums, I picked up the sticks and started to play like this. This is the most natural way for me to play. I think that it is the most natural way to play because there's no crossover as far as playing like this. You play a ride cymbal here and you do this, and play like that. But then, when you do play the hi-hat, you have to cross over and play it like this. This way, I don't have to do that, and it is more natural for me to play this way, and I feel most comfortable doing that. And as far as any other things that are unorthodox, I have this theory that whatever I can do to get the sound that I want, that's what I'll do. I mean, if I want to bang the drums or whatever, that's what I'll do to get the sound that I want. There's no set pattern. There's no set thing that I work on to get, my concept across. I think my basic concept of playing the instrument is to be as relaxed as I can be and get my point across. I'm more into finessing the drum set as opposed to muscling the drum set.
So how do you feel about using heavy metal sticks to help build up your chops?
In the long run, constant practice will be the answer. As far as playing with heavier sticks, I've tried both things. I've played with heavier sticks and got to the point where like I thought that like playing with the heavier sticks would help me when I picked up the sticks that I usually use, because they would be much lighter or whatever. I've used the approach where I've gotten weights, and I had 5-pound weights in each hand, and practice doing things with dumbbells on each hand to build up that strength. I think that again, if it works for you, that's what you should do. I know a lot of people that I've talked to that are totally against that. They feel as though like you should play with the sticks that you have and just build up your chops that way and have the most natural feel. Take the sticks that you usually use and have the most natural feel with that. Again, I say that if it works, I think that that's the bottom line. If you feel as though like it is, you're passing that plateau. I think more so that plateau that you want to pass is more or less a mental thing than anything. I think that that's one of the biggest problems that drummers have. I think that's one of the problems that separates good drummers from being great drummers. It's like there's this mental block. It's like when I went out and did clinics, I would ask someone from the audience to come up and play. Before I even played, before I sat down to the drum set, I asked someone else to come up and play, and they were like, "Oh, what, me? Who, me?" And everyone was like kind of afraid, because they were afraid of what all the other drummers would think of what they did, Or like, they come up and play, and like the guys would sit back there and say, "Yeah, he's okay, but like his left hand is no good, or his foot's no good." And I don't think that you should really worry about that. I think that like you should worry about getting the results that you want in what you do. And if you've reached a particular point where like you want to get past that point, you say like, okay, my hands don't work. That's probably what it is, right? My hands don't work, and like I want to be able to play around the set a lot faster or whatever. It's more or less a mental lapse. It's a mental block that you go through to say, oh, I can't do this anymore, or like, what do I do to get to this point? Practicing is a concept. I mean, you should practice however long it is to get to do what you want to do. If it's playing paradiddles faster, then when you play the paradiddle, when you practice, you play the paradiddles faster. If you practice 1 hour a day, if you practice 7 hours a day, it doesn't matter. It depends upon what it is you want to do. And once you learn to get to that point and you do what you want to do, then there's no need for you to practice. That's just my opinion also. It's not gospel. I mean, that's just my approach.
Is it better to practice slow or fast?
Well, I think the most important thing about practicing slow or fast, I think the most important than that is learning how to relax. I think that is a real problem especially with young drummers. And they come up and they sit down on a drum set, and right away it's like they'll play everything real fast, and like that's supposed to impress everyone. But when they're asked to play a groove, a simple groove, they can't do that. And I think practicing fast or slow is not the answer. I think practicing so that you relax. And once you relax, then you can play fast. And once you relax, you can play as slow as you want. You know what I'm saying? So it's not a matter of like seeing how fast you can play real fast. It's like, oh, but if you're not relaxed doing that, it's not going to really even. It should even itself out. The thing is like you should look like. I mean, the way you should approach your drum set is like, when someone watches you play, it should be, wow, he's not moving at all. But where is all that sound coming from? But I think that's the answer is like, it's not playing fast or slow. It's relaxing. And then once you relax, then you can play as fast or as slow as you want. Because you have a confidence, once you relax.
Lenny, do you still practice? Do you need to practice, or do you even get a chance to practice?
I don't practice. I'm going to start, though. Yeah, I'm going to start. Well, just, the thing is like the reason why I didn't practice is because I had gotten to a point where I was happy with what I was doing, and there was nothing new that I really wanted to do. I had, diverted my efforts and energies into another area of music, which is trying to write music and produce records and arrange music. So now I'm going to get an opportunity to go out and play again the way that I want to play. And so now I'm going to start to go back in and practice again. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get re-familiarize myself with the type of music that I'm going to go out and play, which is fusion music. And once I re-familiarize myself with that idiom again, it's not that I've left it, but it's just that once I re-familiarize myself with the concepts that are involved in that, then I'll sit down and use conceptually what I thought about and use that approach to my instrument. See, I think that all of it is based on approach. Whether you're playing funk music, whether you're playing fusion, rock and roll, jazz music, it's all approach. And once you gear yourself to that particular type of music and how you're going to approach it, then the personal person comes out and plays it. That's why you have so many different jazz drummers sounding different. You have so many different rock and roll drummers sounding, but they all play the same basic beats. There's nothing new, I mean, the root is how many rudiments are there? There's no new rudiments, but there are infinite possibilities of the combinations. Relaxation is the main focal point, but also I listen a lot to Latin music, and my approach to playing is like playing timbales. If you notice the way I play, as far as playing on top of the beat, knowing that there's a bed laid down by whatever other musicians or what that I'm playing with at the time, I play on top of the beat as a timbale player would play. I listened a lot to Restos Vilato and Nicky, Rao, who played with Eddie Palmieri, and I listened a lot to even Chapito, who used to play with Santana, and I listened to these people, and my approach to playing the instrument is like that. My concept is not to overpower the band, but again, to finesse the band, you know, to make it slick, you know, to say like, yeah, I'd rather somebody listen to the way I play and say, wow, that was really interesting, than to say, wow, man, he plays singles unbelievably straight. You know what I'm saying?
Big difference.
There is a difference because I think that like it's more of a melodic, interesting musical concept than it is a technical approach to playing the drums, because we are playing a musical instrument as opposed to just being the drums. Hey man, I play drums, do 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 do, you know. And the thing is I think that it should be a musical approach.
We were talking before about the inspiration that you got as a kid from practicing along with records. When you did start out, where was it from exercising or listening to records or practicing with records or a teacher, or what exactly that really inspired you to progress?
That's a real good question. I think the thing that inspired me the most was the fact that playing the drums is something that I wanted to do. And my father had a library of records, old jazz records, that I could listen to. And I remember I used to like, Dave Brubeck Quartet with Joe Morello was in it. And I could take you over to my mother and father's house now, and you could see where, like, it said, you know, Dave Brubeck Quartet had Dave Brubeck and Paul Desmond and Eugene Wright and Joe Morello, and I'd write my name in there also, like on the album, you know. And I thought that, like, it was a real it would be a real dream come true for me to play on a record like these guys were playing. I'd sit down in my basement, put on the record, and practice playing with the record. And I got so inspired by that. It was like there wasn't any time in the day that I would not practice. I'd be in school and I'd take my pencils and, you know, and I'd practice playing, you know, like rudiments with my feet and like, you know, there's this desire that I had to one day make a record and play like these guys that were on the record. And that's what carried me all through that early period. And like, I couldn't get enough of playing the instrument. I would always sit down and practice. I would practice more so than anything, I'd practice swinging. I'd practice I'd take a cymbal, just a cymbal by itself. And I remember I listened to a Miles Davis record, where Tony Williams was playing. And then, you know, like you could hear distinctly his cymbal beat. And I said, man, you know, I used to take just a cymbal and go sit into a corner, you know, like where, you know, the walls come together like this, and sit down and just play the cymbal. And just do that so that I could hear every little cymbal beat that I played. And I wanted it to be distinct. I wanted it to be so, like, you know, it wouldn't be shh, but you could hear you could hear everything. And I would practice that without anything else. And then I would, you know, bring the hi-hat in, then the snare drum or whatever. And I'd practice swinging more so than playing rudiments. That's why I'm not a rudimental player. And I always practice swinging the band more so than anything else. And a lot of times when I'm playing straight ahead music now, what I'll do is I'll play flat-footed. I'll play, you know, on the cymbal, and I will not play any bass drum, and I will not play any hi-hat for a while, just to swing the band with just playing the cymbal and the snare drum, just to see, you know, if I can still do that. I'll see if that works. And then gradually I'll bring in the hi-hat and bring in the other drums, you know. It's not necessarily to play all the drums that are here, you know. It's necessary, number one, to swing the band. And that's what I practice most. I practice swinging the band, and I was inspired by all those records that I listened to. It was a matter of being able to take a point on a record and centralize a certain thing that the drummer was playing at the time, listen to it, you know, because there's, you know, on a record there's, you know, however many people are on there, there's the piano player, bass, or whatever, but you isolated it and you listen to what the drummer was doing, you say, oh yeah, and then like you would retain that, sit down and try to emulate what you retained from listening to the record. Like Take 5 solo, I could play the Take 5 solo note for note. And like Art Blakey stuff, I could play Art Blakey solo note for note. And then later on, I got to realize that that's not the answer. That's not the only, but is to listen to what that solo, what that particular person did in that solo, and to take out of it what I could retain for myself into my own approach to playing the instrument. You know, and to listen to the guys that influenced that guy that I listened to, and to, you know, grasp and take from those influences what it is that I could grasp, take for myself. I think that it's really good for young musicians, young drummers to do that, to be able to centralize on a particular thing that a drummer that they like does, retain it, and then emulate it. And from that, learn what you did and take it the next step. And use that and use that in your approach to playing the instrument. And that gives you your personal style. For the longest time, man, you know, I would emulate Tony Williams. And like people, I mean, I thought that I sounded exactly like Tony Williams, man. It was great. I was like, yeah, all right, you know. And I played with Jackie McLean, and one night, Woody Shaw came up to me and said, man, yeah, you sound great. And I thought he was going to say, yeah, you sound just like Tony. He said, yeah, you sound just like Jack DeJohnette. And I said, what is it? What? What are you talking about? I know I sound like Tony Williams, but I mean, it's just, you know what I mean? It's my own reality of where I was at that time, and, other people listening to me and picking up what they thought it was, So I think that, everybody plays through, and please don't ever listen to a drummer that says, hey, I'm playing my own stuff. Hey, man, I don't listen to nobody. Give me a break, you know what I mean? Like, there's nobody that's doing that because of the fact that, there are only a certain amount of rudiments. Now, the way that you approach it is different. But, everything has been done before, and the more people realize that and to, start listening to musicians, and not just drummers, but listening to musicians and not worrying about, hey, this is my stuff or whatever, but, worrying about, really sounding good and pushing the band and making it work, I think it would be a lot better. My style was a hybrid of all the other different areas of music that I had played. Fusion music, jazz fusion or whatever, it had its roots like with Miles Davis and Mahavishnu and Return to Forever and Weather Report. So at the time, there was nobody, and like Tony Williams' Lifetime. At the time, I had listened to Tony Williams' Lifetime, but at that point, I had played with Miles Davis and Freddie Hubbard and Lightning Hopkins and Santana, and there was so many very different kinds of music that I had played that it all came together and formed this fusion type music. And that's what all that music was anyway. It was like a formation of that. And I think that for a young musician, not just drum, but for a young musician, I think the best thing to do is to play as many different kinds of music as you can, and to be as well versed in those kinds of music as you can. And at that point, once you do that, you'll realize that no matter what it is, whether it's Latin music, jazz music, rock and roll, or funk, it'll come out sounding like you, because there'll be certain things that you do in all those kinds of music that will be the same thing all the time. You'll say, hey man, I play this rudiment here all the time. I mean, I wonder why I do that. But it's like, that's what makes it personal to you. That's what makes your style personal. I mean, there's a rudiment that I play all the time, which is a flam, Swiss triplet or whatever you call it. It's like, and I play, and I play it all the time. I mean, that's just what feels comfortable to me. And whenever I improvise, I play that based on that rudiment. So, I think that you'll find a niche, whatever kind of music it is that you're playing, whether it is jazz or rock or punk or whatever it is, And that's what'll happen. I think that, if you concentrate on just one type of music, you'll just develop to that point where it'll just be that one type of music, and you'll be a specialist in that type of music, and you won't be able to do anything else. So I think that, you should listen to as many different kinds of music as you can. And from that, you'll develop your own personal style.
Would you suggest a drummer learn any other instrument?
I would say that all drummers should have at least a basic knowledge of playing the piano, because in that they can, because the piano is so rhythmic, you can play a rhythmic figure or whatever, and you see the relationship of the notes actually right there in front of you, and developing that approach, zeroing in on another instrument like the piano. You can basically take the instrument, meaning the drums, and adapt it to playing melodies also. I think also in developing solos, you develop a theme, and you start with a theme and then you go off the theme and play something, and then come back to the theme. A lot of times you hear solos and they're just basically rudiments. They're not solos. They're not compositions. They're not something that has a beginning and an end, a melodic beginning and a melodic end. It's something that starts out with, and what I'll do is I'll demonstrate that. I'll play a solo that will begin with a melodic We'll begin with a rhythmic figure that'll repeat, and I'll go back and forth, and then you start with it and end with it, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay? Okay, just relating to what I just played. I mean, I started with a theme, and just varied on that theme, and always came back to it. And I think more so than just playing tom-toms that are tuned to certain notes, that's melodic playing also. If you can get a point of reference that let everybody that's listening to you play a solo know when you start, when you finish, and where like the melody line is or point of reference line is, then they can actually see you develop a solo. You can start it, develop it and do different things to it. And I think that that's all a part of melodic playing also. That's a melodic pattern.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then you can develop that. But now, if your drums have tape on them and they go doop, 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 you can't get any sound out of it. Now, I'm opposed to putting any kind of tape or anything on the drums, except for the bass drum and the snare drum, maybe some, you know, because of the fact that, like the bass drum, you want to feel the bass drum as opposed to hear the bass drum, you know. You want to, because it's a big drum and you want to get that punch and you want to feel it, so like that's why I put a pad in it. But as far as the tom-toms are concerned, I don't put any tape or anything. I don't use, anybody use CS heads? You use CS heads with the dots on them? You do? Okay. Well, I'm opposed to using the CS heads because, you know, I have this big dot here. And CS stands for controlled sound. And I don't think, I mean, I think because I play the drums, I want to be able to control the sound myself. So, but I mean, like, you know, those are different things that you can, you know, do as far as tuning your instrument. You know, like once you tune the instrument and like you have a relative sound, you know, you're tuned to a relative pitch, you can experiment with different melodical concepts on the drums, you know, and do it that way. I want to do one more demonstration. That is a demonstration that, like, all of you can do. You get together with a few drummers, fellow drummers. I mean, like, you know, okay, you guys go here, Drummers Collective, so you guys can do it, you know. Could I get 3 volunteers? Okay, come on, you 3 guys. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate. You guys are going to be my human metronome, okay? And all I want you to do is I want you to clap on 2 and 4. And what I'm going to demonstrate is like how everybody, not just drummers, but like everybody should have their own internal metronome. And the idea and the object is for me to throw you guys off. Now, what I want you to do is just clap on 2 and 4. But the object is for me to play stuff and to throw you guys off. Because I always know where I am. And you guys have to know where you are. Okay? That's the object, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now you got it, right? but the idea,
So what happened?
you got messed up.
Uh-huh.
You got messed up, and you got messed up. You guys are listening to what I did as opposed to holding your own. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like when bass players are playing, and like the drummer plays on top, a guy listens to what he plays. It's like, oh, when the bass player goes to what the drummer's playing, the band goes off. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to have your own internal metronome. You have to always know where the beat is. No matter what, you have to be able to listen to what the soloist is doing and also still retain where it is, you know. And I guess a real good exercise that you can practice with other drummers. You know, 2 or 3 you guys can get together and you practice just going like this, and you beat the metronome, and then like you try it, you sit down and play and try to mess them up. But you have to always know where you are, just to keep your time pretty good. You know, it just gives you a point of reference, and you always have to have that when you're playing, you know, with people or playing a solo, the same thing, you know. It's just something that you can try. And like that.
I'd like to know what you feel really distinguishes a great drummer.
Everybody that plays the instrument has something to offer in the instrument. Like, I think the term great is overly used to a certain extent. And I think that to a certain extent, media makes people great that are good.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas somebody that's great, you might not even know about.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot.
So the situation is like, it's what your standards of greatness are, and that's a personal thing. I might think that this guy is great because, I mean, like, I went to see James Brown the other night. James Brown is fantastic. I mean, he is the most rhythmic person that I've ever seen in my life. One man have all that rhythm. He's great to me. So other people, he's not great. I mean, it's like, but it's a personal opinion, and it also is based on your definition of what greatness is. Because you and I might agree on 3 out of 5 drummers who we think that are great. So I think it's a personal thing,
Since you approach the drums as a melodic as well as a rhythmic instrument, how do you come up with new melodic ideas to incorporate into your playing?
Well, what I actually do is I listen to a lot of melodic music. I listen. Actually, what I do is I try to base my concept on anything that I come across any day, whether it be music or not. I mean, like, I could sit down and be in a movie, watch a movie or something, and see something in the movie and say, wow, that'd be a great thing to write a tune about, and, adapt that to writing a piece of music, which in turn, I'll adapt it to playing the instrument. Like, in playing in the band, like, I'm getting ready to play a solo or something, the piano player is playing a solo before I am, and he plays a riff, and I say, oh, that's nice, and I'll use that as the basis of my solo. So like, because there are infinite possibilities of combining the notes to make infinite melodies, there's no set thing that I can say that I listen to. It depends upon what it is that comes into my consciousness at that time. And then I can retain that. It's just about what I said at the beginning. It's like, hearing something and retaining that and then adapting that to your instrument. Like you grasp it and you retain it. And then, whatever melody it is. It could be, you hear a guy walking down the street whistling something and say, wow, where did I hear that? That's nice. And, you can adapt that to playing the instrument.
Thank you.